Good morning and welcome to CJ Cafe.
Good morning.
Rayhan Hassan is a student who is part of the Autism Resources Services program at John F. Kennedy High School.
$6 will be $6.
He also works at CJ's Cafe at school, a cafe that serves teachers every Friday morning. He's a devoted employee who understands the significance of his role.
So how much you total of cash, you know how to give the customers, and then you know how to say nice to them.
CJ's Cafe is deeper than just cooks in a kitchen. Students who are part of the Learning for Independence program and ARS unit take part in a work-based study program that bases its curriculum around the development of employment skills, social skills, and teamwork for young students.
CJ Cafe was started some time ago by a teacher, Ms. Carbone, who worked here for a long time. Started off as kind of a donut and coffee service. After Tony D, Jess Barron, and myself came in and began to work with it, we started to graduate it to actually hot food, to what it's kind of mutated into now. So it's kind of like a small IHOP almost.
My favorite thing about CJ Cafe is cooking for the teachers and, seeing their smiling faces and greeting them as they come to the door.
On Friday mornings, teachers and staff can purchase an array of breakfast items.
Omelets, we do flatbread sandwiches with country ham, so they learn how to also cook sausage. We have 4 or 5 excellent waffle makers, so we always have a waffle station going in the morning for the teachers.
Being part of this environment gives students skills they can take from the classroom to the workforce and for their personal lives.
Helps teach you the attention to detail. It also teaches you how to be safe in the kitchen. Also, just being able to cook for yourself, being self-sufficient.
Independence, learning how to be able to cook at such an early age allows you to get to a place where, some of the things you're preparing are probably better things that, are just better for your body.
Teachers and staff have been supporting CJ's Cafe for years.
The whole idea between the students working, preparing, getting ready for life out of this building is something I absolutely support.
I like the waffles, and I like the egg and cheese sandwich.
In the end, the goal for students is to learn important life skills.
A lot of those skills won't just help them at a job, it'll help them in life.